very good evening to you from the sports desk. It's all systems go for tomorrow as the Springboks gear up for their Rugby Championship decider against Argentina. Rassie Erasmus and his Springboks could be crowned champions before their match, though, depending on the result between Australia and New Zealand in Perth. Now, to chat to us about this final round, we are joined by our correspondent, Zayn Nabbi from London, England. Zayn, a very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Quena. Wouldn't find a better place to be on a Friday night.
Let's talk about that. I mean, in my introduction, I speak about the fact that the Springboks could be crowned champions before kickoff. Talk to us about that permutation.
Absolutely. Well, New Zealand play Australia in Perth. And quite simply, if Australia win and they don't secure the bonus point, well, then South Africa will take the title without a ball being kicked in any anger. However, you'd have to expect this to be a very closely contested game in Perth. New Zealand winning the Bledisloe last week when they kept that undefeated streak going at Eden Park, the one the Boks couldn't break. And also their coach, Scott Robertson, is under immense pressure. So you can imagine the All Blacks are going to be desperate. They're not going to want to do the Springboks any favors. And they're going to go out there and try and belt the Wallabies in Perth. Of course, the Wallabies are no pushovers, but I'd imagine this is going to be a high-scoring, intense, great game. And if I know the All Blacks, who don't like to do us any favors, we'll be going into that game in Argentina against Argentina in the afternoon in London, needing to win. But I think we'll have that all under control.
And I mean, looking at how the Springboks performed in that first match against Argentina, would you say that it's almost a shoo-in that the Springboks would win that game?
Absolutely. I think on paper, if we were playing this game, the Boks win this and the Boks win this very comfortably. However, and this has been the thing with the Springboks, and, you know, I attended Siya Kolisi's press conference along with assistant coach Mazwandile Stick. And while there's a quiet confidence in the squad, it's interesting. Sia's language is, we're just focused on this game. They don't want to be derailed. Quena, history is in the making. The Tri-Nations, the precursor to the Rugby Championship, was a tournament dominated by New Zealand. Yes, there were moments of brilliance by South Africa and the Wallabies, but by in general, it's been an all-black trophy cabinet that's been filled. Now we have the first South African team that can win back-to-back titles. No, this isn't a World Cup, but this game will go down in ensuring that the legacy of Siya and Rassie will be one of the greatest dynasties that have ever been in the world of rugby. Now, the other thing that has been a hot topic this week, Quena, has been the discussion around Sasha, Feinberg and Mngomezulu. I mean, the youngsters scored 37 points against the Argentines in the first game that the two nations played in Durban. He's been the talk of the town. There have been comparisons by greats like John Kerwin, the New Zealander, and Victor Matfield to Dan Carter in the way he plays. And Siya, when I asked him at the press conference, Siya, what advice have you given somebody like Sasha this week to ensure maybe he just doesn't believe all the hype around him and keeps focused on the task at hand? And Siya said something very simply. We want him to go out there and be the general that he is. You can listen to Siya now in his own words, where he talks about the importance of Sasha going out to lead the Springbok attack.
All right, we'll take a listen to that Siya Kolisi message to Sasha Feinberg as soon as we get it. But Zayn, just again looking at Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu and the way he has played, and I mean, you could see that how talented he is and how diverse he is. How crucial do you think he will be in this game, but also taking into cognizance that the Argentinians know what he's capable of? He destroyed them in Durban, so clearly they have a number on him.
Exactly, and they'll adjust, right? But all that does, when they adjust to Sasha, and if they decide, right, they're going to try and put two people to mark him, they're going to get their Lucies to come hard at him, well, what does that do? That creates space in other players. And look, you look at the Springbok team, Cheslin Colby, Damian Willemse, you've got weapons all over the pitch. Even somebody like Ethan Hooker, who's playing with such freedom as for such a youngster. The Springboks backline is stacked. I do think what Rassie Erasmus has so successfully done, Quena, is he's got three fly halves who could turn it on any week. He's got somebody like Mani Libbok, when there needs to be a bonus point scored, where there's something attacking, where it's on, he's the man to go to. Andre Pollard, that man has ice cold water in his veins, because when there's a pressure moment, he'll sink the kick, he'll make the hit, he will problem solve in ways that other fly halves can't. And then you sort of marry Mani with Andre, and you come up with Sasha, Feinberg, and Gomazulu. Throw in youth, and you have a weapon there that is not only intelligent, that not only brave, but could become, if he consistently turns it on, the face of the sport.
All right. Let's now take a listen, and I want us to talk about this. But firstly, let's listen to Mzwandile Stick speaking about the split, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that.
In the past couple of weeks, I think our outside backs, they get into the game more than the previous games, if you talk about the kicking game, if you talk about the loose plays, So we have to make sure that we've got covers outside, that can also, if anything happens with the wings, if you see the last couple of games, our wings were normally injured. If you look at Catley Arendse against Australia with Edwell, they couldn't finish the game. So we look at things like that, where do we need the backup mostly, and who can offer us more energy. So once again, if you look at now with the 5-3 we've got now, unfortunately for a guy like Andre Stuyven, he's been great for us off the bench. He's been bringing massive impact. But with Jesse Krill, that's what I mean, that we had to look at the cover of giving us more pace and also more energy. So that is why sometimes we lean towards 5-3. Is the 7-1 split gone? It's not gone. One day it will come back again, hopefully in one of the games in the end of the tour.
Right, Zayn, just listening to Mzwandile speaking about the split, I mean, we know that even during the Rugby World Cup, there were questions of how the South Africans uses the split. How do you think this will play in terms of tactically approaching the game tomorrow?
Absolutely. I mean, look, the bomb squad, the 6-2 split or the 7-1 split, when it was first done, this was revolutionary by Rassie. So much so, you got people like Matt Williams, the former Scottish coach, and he coached, if I'm correct, Leinster and Ulster in Ireland and the New South Wales Waratahs, being very critical of what the Springboks were doing, saying that it went against the spirit of the game. Quite frankly, no laws were broken. And what Rassie was doing is ensuring that he had a pack that was refreshed, could get scrum dominance, line-out dominance, keep the pace up so the Springboks can win. But what we're seeing now, and bear in mind the bomb squad, the 6-2 split or the 7-1 split, hasn't been used during the Rugby Championship. It's clear that Rassie is thinking about the balance of his team. I think he's got 3 wonderful fly halves that he will want to bring in and utilize. And when you think of the embarrassment of riches, like somebody like Jesse Kriel, hasn't played for the last 2 weeks, but he's coming into the team, and somebody like Andre Esterhuizen is missing out. He wants to bring in these backs to give us that bite, particularly when the game goes longer. And the 5-3 split, I think, speaks to the fact that there's a much better balance between our forwards and our backs. And now we have consistent fly halves who can go in there and adapt to whatever game plan that needs to happen. But it was interesting that Mzwandile Stick, who was a brilliant sevens player and backline player, when he was a player before he was the Bok assistant, is talking very confidently about that bomb squad coming back 6-1, 7-1. And he said, well, wait to see it on the end of year tour. So we're going to hold him to that.
So, Zayn, and I know we'll focus primarily on the Springboks, but talk to us a little bit about Argentina and what are the dangers that the Springboks should be wary of going into this match?
Yeah, in many ways, they were Springbok light, and I'd even say that in mentality. And I don't mean that as a slight on the Argentinians, because they would have been hurting after what happened in Durban. They're a proud nation. They've got the Latin passion. And I can show you somebody like Felipe Contepomi and his players will have really taken those lessons on board. And that's why the Springboks are fully aware that they can expect a retaliation. And let's not forget that it's in the second game that the Argentinians beat New Zealand and they beat the Wallabies. So they'll come back better. I still think the Springboks are the favorites, but what the Argentines have done is they've used the game to experiment a little too. We see that Simon Benitez Cruz will be partnering a new halfback combination as Santi Carreras goes to fullback and Geronimo Priscantelli starts at fly half. Priscantelli and Carreras are 2 wonderful pivots who you could launch attacks from, and they bounce between 10 and 15. So the truth of the matter is, expect the Argentines to mix up their 10 and 15 to try launch dual attacks.
All right.
That said, as much as they're trialing combinations, I think the Boks have this game in the bag.
All right, Zayn, we're going to have to leave it there. We're out of time, but thank you so much for talking to us.